technical side of a tattoo. So, when I was 14 or 15, I had my first tattoo. Did it on myself, like all my other tattoos, and it was painful, and it was highly misguided. And while I don't regret it, I wish I would have taken the time to really research what I was doing before I was like, oh yeah, tattoo, woo. And so, over the last 15 years, I've learned a valuable lesson. By knowing the tools of the trade, it helps you apply those tools to yourself or to another person. So, does anybody in here have a tattoo? According to Green Vault 2014, 1 out of every 5, I'm just going to say millennials. We're going to go with millennials because it changes from generation to generation. Between the ages of 19 and 29 will have a tattoo. So that means about 4 of you, give or take, will, if not already have a tattoo, will have a tattoo. The best way to go about that whole scenario is to know what is going to happen. There's a lot of different tools out there. There's a lot of different ways, a lot of different techniques. And by knowing the background, not the artistical side of it, not the pretty flower that you get on your back and everything else, knowing the actual tools that go into what's going to happen will better educate you to make a more informed decision. So, pre-electricity. Tattoos have been around since, man, more or less, as soon as fire came about. Original tattoos from Aboriginals and, I'm not going to say caveman, but early man started with shaped rocks and sticks that were literally burned into the skin. No inks, nothing fancy, just a lot of hot rocks burned into your skin, which I imagine you all are smart enough to know that that is highly, it's dirty. It's very, very, very dirty, and you can get all sorts of diseases from it. But that led to the creation of more sophisticated tools. Around the 1300s is when more sophisticated tools started to come into play. The tools that you see here on this side, well, technically this side too, but on this side are known as the stick and hammer method. Now, this is the first realistic tattoo instruments. It had a base that would lay across the tattoo artist's legs, a stick that had an implement on the end, normally made of bone or rock, something sharp that could be pierced into the skin, and a hammer that they would smack against the stick to pierce the skin with the bone and unlike today's, where you dip your tattoo gun into some ink and then it's tattooed onto you, they actually simultaneously rubbed ink into your skin as the hammer's being, you're pretty much being turned into a construction site. Like it's putting it right down in your skin, and as somebody's there rubbing the ink into your skin. Also extremely unhygienic. This method is actually used today still in a lot of countries, but there's a lot of disease, and it's not the most, if you want to be like super old school, I wouldn't suggest this in any manner. Which brings us to the modern tattoo gun. This, all of them actually, consist of the main, even though it can look different, which I brought 2 for everybody to look at if you'd like. It consists of your capacitors, your shaft, your dampifier, which keeps the needle from jiggling all over the place, your aperture bar, and then there is a general outlet amplifier that goes into the wall, which turns over your electricity so that you don't burn out your tools at all. But all of them are pretty much the same. The only real difference between this and the more modern ones is that most tattoo guns are now made on something called an L-bar, which is the type of gun. And the only reason it's called that is because it's actually fastened to an L shape. Nothing fancy about it. The other one, which this one, has all the same components, except for everything is built right into it. So you don't need all the fancy rubber bands and all the grommets on all the things that go along with that type of traditional tattoo gun. This one has everything already built in. So realistically, all you do is plug it in and go. by knowing exactly the type of tool that will be used on you, you're more educated about it, so you can make a decision. Maybe you want to go old school and just, have the hammer, and I can't imagine any of you would want that. But if you do the stick and hammer method, which is still a thing, people still do that, you can ask more educated questions to your tattoo artist, or if you're doing it on yourself, you can dig deeper, know more about it. You can prepare for it. If you know the type of tool that is going to be used on you, then you have your own metaphorical tools that you can take with you to the tattoo artist so that you can make that decision. Like maybe you look at what he has laid out before you and you're like, pass. I'm going to definitely pass on that because he's using something 1960s. And you can enjoy the experience more because you know exactly what is going into the whole thing.